Venerable Vategama Dhammavans Thero, the special guests, two guests we have today, the Honorary Consul of Sri Lanka, Mr. Anton Sohn, and the President of the Federation of Lankan Organizations, to light the lamp with all the other speakers and the special invitees of the Venerable Mahasaya. Please, all of you join for the lighting of the lamp. To join to the lighting of the lamp. And whoever invited, especially by Abante for the evening. Now we move on to the next item, that is to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land. I read out the sentence. I would like to begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we gather today and pay our respects to their elders, past and present. I extend that respect to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders people here today. Now we move on to the third item of the agenda, and that is Dr. Kalidas Adhikari, the Secretary of the Sri Lankan Buddhist Monastery, will now make the welcome address.
Good morning. On behalf of Venerable Vategama Dhammavans Thero, the Chief Incumbent of Sri Lanka Mahavihara, the Chief Sanghanayak of Australia, and the Sri Lanka Buddhist Monastery, I have been given the privilege of welcoming all the guests who are here today. First of all, I would like to welcome Mr. Anton Sohn, OAM, the Honorary Consul for Sri Lanka in Queensland, and Associate Prof. J. Veeravardhana of Business School, University of Queensland, and the President of Federation of Sri Lankan Organizations in Queensland, who are attending as our distinguished guests of honor. I would also like to welcome all the delegates who are attending today's conference, namely Venerable Ajahn Brahmavans Nayakathero, the spiritual director of Bodhinyana Monastery, Western Australia. He is joining via Zoom. Swami Atmeshananda from Vedanta Center. Reverend David Baker of Queensland Churches Together. Venerable Dr. Rambukwelle Jnanasiha Thero from Singapore via Zoom. Dr. Arsalan Falati, Nimatullahi GH.A, Sufi Order. Mr. Ron Mitchell, Brisbane Baha'i Community. Venerable Dr. Saranapala Thero from Toronto, Canada via Zoom. Pandit Sanat Pandey from Hindu Society of Queensland. Mrs. Gail Parats, Chairperson, Queensland Faith Communities Council. Venerable Dr. Omalpe Sobita Nayakathero from Sri Lanka via Zoom. Venerable K. Panyana Siri Thero from Gold Coast Buddhist Center. Venerable Geshe Sultrim Thero, the resident at Chenresik Institute. Venerable Yatinura Sankicha Thero from Michigan, USA via Zoom. I would like to extend a warm welcome to all the clergy and devotees who are taking part in this conference today. Hope you all will enjoy the day's proceedings. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Adhikari. Next item is the address by Honorary Consul for Sri Lanka in Brisbane, Mr. Antonson, OAM. I just got the permission from the chief monk of this temple. You can receive the speakers with a warm clap.
You timed it well for me anyway. Thank you. Aiboan, Venerable Theros, Venerable monks, Venerable nuns, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the Buddhist monastery for inviting me for this very important morning seminar on world peace and spirituality. I got to be honest. I've got no expertise on these subjects, but saying that, I'm sure we got some very distinguished presenters and speakers this morning who will enlighten us on this subject. Unfortunately, with the pandemic and what's happening around the world, especially in Israel and Palestine, world peace is very important. And we are well aware that without inner peace, outer peace is impossible. We all wish for world peace, but world peace will never be achieved unless we first establish peace within our own minds. We can send so-called peacekeeping forces into areas of conflict, but peace cannot be opposed from the outside with guns. Only by creating peace within our own mind and helping others to do the same, we can hope to achieve peace in this world. And I'd like to give you a quote from the Dalai Lama. When we have an inner peace, we can be at peace with those around us. When our community is in a state of peace, it can share that peace with neighboring communities. So this is an opportunity for us, the community here in Brisbane and around the world, to get an insight of what our speakers and presenters will give us the opportunity to have inner peace in ourselves. I always find that when I come to a place of worship, especially a place like the Buddhist monastery, which I've had a relationship, I think, for over 25 years or more, maybe, that in myself, I feel peace and tranquility. I think all of us should feel the same, or I'm sure you do. So I'd like to once again thank the Buddhist monastery, the community, for their support, especially being the Honorary Consul for Sri Lanka for almost 30 years now. And without their help and their support from the community, from all the Buddhist temples in Brisbane, has supported me. And I would like to take this opportunity to thank them for all your support. Have a very good morning, and I'm sure you will. Unfortunately, I have to leave a bit early because due to a prior commitment. But thank you once again, and have a peaceful morning. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I just want to check with you. Is it clear, the sound system for the ear? Can you put your hand up? Because there is some, okay, thank you. Now, the President of the Federation of Sri Lankan Organizations in Queensland, on behalf of all the organizations, will now felicitate. It is Associate Professor J. Veeravardhana.
Good morning, everyone. Venerable Wattegama Dhammavasanayaka Thero, Chief Incumbent of the Sri Lanka Buddhist Monastery, and Venerable Sitna Malwe Sugatsara Thero, the Chief Incumbent of Gudna Temple in Brisbane, and all other religious dignitaries, including Venerable Ajahn Brahm Thero, who will be addressing this very important forum this morning. As already introduced, I represent the Federation of Sri Lankan Organizations in Queensland, which represents 8 organizations who have been very active in this community. And on behalf of all of them, let me wish all success to this very important religious forum today. And on this Vesak Day, when we are celebrating the most important event in the Buddhist calendar, that is the birth, enlightenment, and the parinibbana, or the departure from life of our greatest teacher. I must confess that I don't have, as Anton said, I'm also in the same position. I don't have much expertise in on this topic. But the importance of building world peace is evident, and we are reminded of the importance of that every day. And as Anton correctly said, last week we were listening to an important conflict that has been going on for many years in the Middle East. Basically, we are living in a world characterized with ongoing violence. The violence is the opposite, or the absence of peace. Today, almost 80 million are refugees. They are fleeing their own countries of birth because there is some conflict pushing them away. In Australia, where we live today, we are frequently reminded about domestic violence. You'll be shocked to hear that in this relatively peaceful country, on average, one woman a week is murdered by her current or former partner. The Australian governments, both at the federal level, state government level, they have been spending millions on conferences, forums, educating people, bringing laws, but still with all that effort, they have failed, unfortunately, to help men, predominantly men, who are unable to control their anger when their loved ones are separated through domestic disputes. On the other hand, being Buddhist from birth, we have some understanding about building inner peace, a state of calm inside you. Our inner peace is frequently disturbed by our greed, ego, and attachment. We are told that our inner peace mirrors our outside behavior. So I'm interested in learning all this and listening to the learned speakers who will be addressing us this morning. So let me stop there, and on behalf of FSOQ again, let me wish good luck and success to this important forum. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. Now, the next item is a very important one. That is, this particular conference has been sponsored by the Queensland government, and the Premier of Queensland has sent a message especially for this event. And may I have the pleasure of inviting Chaturanga Udugama to read the message.
Thank you. Good morning to you all. The message from the Premier of Queensland, Miss Anastasia Palaszczuk. I would like to congratulate the Sri Lanka Buddhist Monastery and everyone involved in undertaking today's conference on World Peace Through Spirituality, which also commemorates one of the most sacred days in the Buddhist calendar, Vesak Day. I would also like to offer my sincerest apologies that I am unable to attend the conference and be part of today's discussions. It is particularly pleasing that you can come together following the necessary restrictions that were put in place throughout the state last year to ensure the safety of all Queenslanders. World peace is a very noble ambition to strive for, and I am very pleased to see that you have gathered together cultural and religious dignitaries to discuss this topic. I know that together we are striving to ensure Queensland is a place of peace where everyone can feel a sense of belonging. And at the heart of that is acknowledging and celebrating that the people of Queensland come from many backgrounds, faiths, traditions, and experiences. This is why the Queensland government is a proud supporter of Vesak Day and this associated conference through the Celebrating Multicultural Queensland program. Again, I would like to congratulate Sri Lankan Buddhist community in Queensland and the Sri Lankan Buddhist Monastery Brisbane for organizing today's gathering. I wish you every success, and I hope today's conference will be an enjoyable and rewarding experience for everyone. Thank you.
We are moving to the second phase of the conference. We managed to do it in 15 minutes sharp, and we started 15 minutes late, and we have to catch up to reach the goal as many speakers join us via Zoom. Now we come to the second step. The introductory session was over. Now it is coming to the session with the keynote speaker. I have the pleasure of introducing the keynote speaker, though he is not present with us. In the Buddhist world map, Australia has begun to feature, and that is because of Venerable Ajahn Brahmavanso. He probably is the most well-known Theravada Buddhist monk in the world today.
Oh dear.
Daily, hundreds of thousands of people read, watch, and listen to him to get inspired and to embrace the teachings of the Buddha. His approach of presenting deep Buddhist insights wrapped in his signature humor makes it appealing to all. More you think of those stories, more you learn about it. Let me most respectfully invite Most Venerable Ajahn Brahmavanso Mahathero, the spiritual director of Bodhiana Monastery of Western Australia, for the keynote address. Though he's not here, let's put our hands together and welcome.
Thank you. Okay, very good. It's a wonderful introduction, and so it's very humbling to be talked about like that. But anyway, I'm very, very, very happy to contribute whatever I can for this great event. And as I'm speaking, just outside, the sun is coming up on the morning of Wesak here in the west of Australia, and it's a very inspiring time. Even though I'm made a theoretical physicist at Cambridge, nevertheless, just the inspiration which you get from the spirituality of Buddhism, especially on these amazing days like Wesak, still really moves me greatly. And that's one of the reasons why, that it doesn't matter where one is in the world, it doesn't matter even what time, there's always many inspiring things which one can see and focus on and learn from. It is important we recognize the difficulties in our world, whether it's political violence, religious violence, it's gender discrimination, violence, corruption, wars. But alongside of that, there's always some beautiful, peaceful, wonderful things happening in our world. And that's one of the reasons why it does not matter, well, it doesn't matter, obviously, but it's not as important that we always focus on the faults in this world. Because sometimes we can focus on the amazing, inspiring, beautiful, wonderful things which are happening alongside the wars. The things which are happening in those hospitals where doctors and nurses decide they're going to work a little bit longer, even though they're exhausted. I've often had emails from disciples in places like Spain and Italy who have told me that I've just been working with 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 hours, and I'm so tired, I haven't seen my family for days. But nevertheless, there's more and more people need to come in to get assessed, to get treated, and to help. What should I do? And of course, keep on helping. It's wonderful, doesn't really matter so much how tired you are, how exhausted you are. If it's something which really needs doing, something which inspires you, it's wonderful how that can give you a great source of energy. I'm not sure about the venerables sitting in the hall here, either in Brisbane or in other parts of the world, but I'm sure you've also experienced what I have experienced many times, really, really tired, really exhausted, really at a point where you should really go take a rest. But can you take a rest? No, there's work to be done. There's people to be helped. There's people to be inspired. And that's why we keep on going. And that inspiration is a source of energy. In Buddhism, we call it things like Jaganusati. Jaganusati is remembering just all of the kindness, the goodness, the giving which you've done in your life. And I don't give money or donations, but I can give the highest gift, which is Dhammadana, giving the gift of teachings, a service of help. And those teachings which you give are enormously powerful. You often get emails, letters from overseas, people you've really helped and inspired and changed their lives. Just one example which comes up is maybe 3 or 4 years ago, maybe a bit longer, I'm not quite sure now, but a lady came from Switzerland to Monastery in Perth where I live. I had never seen her before, but she asked, the monks downstairs, is Ajahn Brahm in? And said, yeah, he's upstairs. And she came in, and as soon as she saw me, she started crying. Not real small tears, weeping. And she was carrying a little copy of her book, my first book, which I wrote, The Opening the Door of Your Heart. And she was crying as she was just fumbling it. And you could see on the outside that every page of that was dark because she'd read it many, many times. And that's when she came up to say that she'd had cancer, anxiety disorder, panic disorder, I don't know what else she had. But anyway, that nothing would help. But then she got some Dhamma, and especially that book, she read it. And within a few months, because her mind had changed, her body changed with it. And she was totally healed, free of her cancer. And all those fears and worries and problems were gone. And what she had done, she'd got on an aircraft from Switzerland. I don't know how many hours, probably a day and a half probably, to get to Perth, to find a taxi to go directly from the station, from the airport to the monastery where I live, and come up to try and find me. She found me and said, can you please sign my book? I just want to say thank you. And I signed her book for her. She was weeping a lot of the time. They said, I have to go now. My taxi's down at the bottom. He has to take me back to the airport because she was flying directly back to Switzerland. That was the only reason why she came, to say thank you. And to me, that was a measure of the inspiration which the Dhamma can give to people. It can move people immensely. And that's just with health problems. With peace problems, we have our peace in our hearts and peace in our families. There's talk about peace in the world, but peace in the household, where wives and husbands are arguing, and where they can find it very difficult to live together because they're far too critical and not enough loving. What loving means, what loving kindness means a lot of forgiveness, a lot of adapting yourself to the people you live with. It doesn't always have to go your way. In fact, it very rarely goes your way, but that's fine. The peace and happiness is more important. And when one can learn how to live together in peace and harmony with somebody else, then there may be an opportunity to live in peace and harmony with other religions, other faiths, other gender orientations, and other people in our world. We need to find that ability to work together. And we don't work together with others by changing them and converting them and making them believe in our type of political ideology or our particular ideas. To be really wise, we need to realize that we don't know everything. We can't know everything. We can never trust that we are true, we are correct, and everyone else is wrong. That type of wrong view, said the Buddha, is one of the causes for the disharmony and eventually the violence in our world. And one of the reasons to overcome, ways to overcome the fact that you're not always right, is to be able to meet more people. Be able to meet, with people of different faiths. If you're a Buddhist, different types of Buddhism, different faiths in this world, different people with no faith, people with different politics. It'd be wonderful if all the parties in Queensland government could actually just have a day off politics and just have a nice party inside Parliament House and just talk about beautiful things, wonderful things, instead of just working as a politician 24/7 all the time. You lose context and focus then. And that's one of the reasons why when somebody who's even a general comes into a family home and just not their family, but somebody else's family, and be able to see real people not just statistics, not just figures, not just ideas, not just goals, but real people living real life, crying real tears and laughing wonderful laughs as well. Sometimes in all parts of our life, we can very easily just escape from reality. I know that very often after I give any teachings, especially teachings to people who come to the temple, especially on a retreat, a meditation retreat, they always ask the question, what do we do when we go out of the retreat center, out of the monastery, out of the church, and go back into the real world? I say, come on, that world out there, is that the real world? Or is a temple much closer to what is the real world? How many monks do you know who wear makeup? How many monks who wear wigs, or if they had any hair, dye their hair? There's a commitment to reality as a Buddhist. And so we don't want to hide the truth of people, the truth of old age, the truth of, who we are. And so there's some great sense of honesty in spiritual places. And that honesty is held in such high esteem that I've often told families that when they get married, I said, please make a commitment to truth. In other words, commitment to truth is that it does not matter what your wife says, what your husband says. If it's the truth, you should never scold them. You should never get angry at them, upset at them. It's the truth, and that is just an important thing in our life. There is always amnesty if you tell the truth. Because you have problems, and you have to work those problems out together. And how do we know what those problems are if we don't tell the truth? That's the same with the children as well. To give an example of this, because I've been here in Australia 38 years now in Perth, and many of the people in the temple have grown up with me. They know me like as a grandfather figure, and they trust me, which is important. So I remember the one Sri Lankan girl came up to see me once. She was about 19, and she said, Ajahn Brahm, I need to talk to you. Yes, how can I help you? And she told me that she was in big trouble. I said, what trouble? And she said she was pregnant. Her boyfriend and her had slept together, and now she was pregnant. I asked her, have you told your parents yet? And she said, oh, they'd kill me if they found out. That's why I've come to you for Ajahn Brahm. Ajahn Brahm, can you please tell my parents for me? I was really touched that she would ask me to help out there. So of course I did that and said, no, she's made a mistake. People do make mistakes in life. She needs your help. She doesn't need to be afraid of you. But I used that story many times to ask parents, please tell your children, as long as you tell mum or dad the truth, there will be no punishment, no scolding. We're here to help. We're your parents. We love you. We care for your parents. We love you. And so I just get a bit of echo, but that's fine. So when you can share the problems with your family without fear, then those problems can be solved. And I often thought, wouldn't that be wonderful in politics? If it doesn't matter what we've done, we're trying our best. We literally are trying our best to care, for the people who we are responsible for. And so, please tell the truth, politicians. So, and please, media, stop also criticizing the politicians. Yeah, they do some really bad things, but those are sometimes mistakes. Sometimes we shouldn't have done those things. But what we really need to do is have that honesty so we can find out what really happened. When bad things do happen, please don't give anger back. That doesn't lead to peace at all. Of course, I think many of you have I remember the Truth and Reconciliation Commission in South Africa. It was where Desmond Tutu and Nelson Mandela, was it Mandela? But anyway, they had a Truth and Reconciliation Commission. So when anybody had done an extrajudicial killing or other crime, ruined people's lives, terrible things. But if they come up and tell the truth, exactly what they did, no more punishment was necessary, because the truth could only be revealed if we put punishment aside. That's one of the reasons why in our modern world is punishments. And if you have fear of getting caught for some terrible thing which you did, you would just hide the truth rather than confess and just open up what happened. And then forgiveness can happen, and most importantly, learning can happen. So we make sure we try not to do those terrible acts again. So that way we can have some peace. And for those who've been listening to my talks before in Australia, I called out the AFL code. Of course, Brisbane's got a couple of very, very good footy teams. AFL usually means Australian Football League, but here it means acknowledge what you've done. Forgive it. No punishment. You made a big mistake. And learn from it. And we don't need to make those terrible mistakes again. And little by little, that becomes something which is so close to how I read the Buddhist teachings in those times. If a monk or a nun did something wrong, they were just reminded what they did, and they would confess their offense, and they'd learn from it and do better next time. And that made a much more harmonious community. I have a large number of monks here in Perth, 24 monks in this one monastery. And sometimes they do stupid things and make mistakes. If they do a stupid thing and I make a mistake, I always ask them, what did you do? Let other people know about it. Don't hide it. There's no punishment, because we all make our mistakes from time to time. We want to grow from them. And that way we can have some understanding that the world is not perfect. Human beings aren't perfect. We're trying our very best. We're inspiring one another to try and be better human beings and try to lead our communities into seeing another way of dealing with life. So those of you who are listening here, who have children, have workers, please try and inspire them. Remember the people you work for, or people who work for you, that your community, your business, that pays not just you, but pays everybody who work for you. It's part of our society. It provides food for the children of those who work for you. It provides opportunities for people to make donations to good temples. And it allows our growth to happen. But of course, to get people to work well together, realize we all have to learn to be in the same boat. In other words, we are traveling in the same direction. Years ago, I remember a person from West Germany. This was when West Germany and I think Japan were the major economies of our world. And when he was asked, when he came to Australia, he was asked by the Australians, how come the West German economy was so great? Is it because you have to work hard? And he honestly replied that he worked harder here in Australia than he'd ever worked in West Germany. Well, how come the economy is so good in West Germany then? And he replied, because in West Germany at that time, everybody works in the same direction. So if I put on the screen, same direction. But in Australia, they work like this against one another. Too much competition, not working together as a team. So little by little, we can learn how to work, let go of our own egos, our own sense of self, let go of always thinking we're right, and then work together as a team in a temple, in a group of temples, in many different religious churches, the government, in the country, in the world. When we blow each other up, there's nothing left. When we build together, we have a paradise. So that's a little talk about finding inspiration in difficult times to build a much better world. May you all be happy and well. Okay. Supposed to do for 15 minutes. I did for 20.
Now, we are moving on to the introductory address. And that speaker needs a specific introduction. Leaving the parents at the age of 10 to become a brother. He committed his entire life for the noble purpose. Privilege of listening to Venerable Vattega Dhammavas Nayaka Thero, the architect of this conference, World Peace Through Spirituality.
Good morning, everyone. Most Venerable Mahasangha, distinguished guests, religious and spiritual practitioners, parents, and friends in Dhamma. First and foremost, I acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we are conducting this special conference. I pay my respect to their elders, past and present, and the elders from other communities who may be there today. Secondly, as the president of Sri Lanka Buddhist Monastery, Brisbane, I offer my sincere thanks and gratitude for all participants despite their busy schedule on their day-to-day life duties and responsibilities. Today, we have gathered here for this special International Buddhist Conference on the theme of world peace through spirituality. This conference is organized in conjunction with the annual Vesak festival. This year, Buddhists around the world celebrated the 2565th anniversary of the Buddha. It was in the full moon day in the month of Vesak, Prince Siddhartha was born, became enlightened, and attained Mahaparinibbana. The full moon day of Vesak is celebrated by Buddhists honoring these three important occasions of the life of the Buddha. The main focus of this international conference is world peace. Currently, almost entire human family suffers the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. The COVID-19 has taken over 3 million human lives within a year. It has made us prisoners, convicts, and locked down in separate countries, in isolated states, and sometimes confined to the walls of the house. This situation clearly reminded of the teaching of the Buddha, because all living beings are subject to illness. I am ill as well. This timeless message of unity and service to others is more important than ever. On the day of Vesak, let us celebrate Lord Buddha's wisdom by taking action for others with compassion and solidarity, and by renewing our commitment to build a peaceful world. Throughout his teaching, the Buddha emphasized the value and importance of human life. Kicho manusa patilabho, rare is to gain birth as a human being. It is not that important our cultural, religious, or ethnic background, but as an unity as human beings. As one nation, and work together to achieve one common goal, that is peace. In the Dhammapada, one of the very earlier Buddhist texts well known among the Buddhist followers around the world, there the Buddha clearly states that hatred is never appeased by hatred. Hatred is only appeased by love. This is an eternal law. We all are human beings, and we do have our own likes and dislikes. In Buddhist point of view, these differences and mental thoughts are called kilesa, of defilements. When human beings are led by harmful thoughts such as anger, ill will, and enmity, they perform harmful actions. These actions are not only destroying the peace within the individual, but also within the society and the world. It is also clear that science and technology have made remarkable and greater achievements in the 21st century. These achievements, packed with selfish mentalities and such as ego, lust, greed, jealousy, and pride. With the development of these individualistic and materialistic views, people have largely neglected spirituality and, more importantly, soft skills such as generosity, love, empathy, kindness, and compassion. This negligence of positive qualities. Nations are divided into power groups and tend to threat each other. Therefore, it is apparent that human behavior has largely contributed to destruction of happiness, harmony, unity, and world peace. In the Dhammapada, Buddha said that tanhaya jayati soko. From craving comes sorrow, from craving comes danger. One who is liberated, there is no sorrow, and how can there be fear? Therefore, the Buddha says the peace-building mission should begin within the individual, within ourselves. In keeping with the peace building theme, the Buddha further emphasized the importance of cultivation of four sublime status, Brahma Viharas. They are metta, which loving kindness, karuna, which is compassion, mudita, which is sympathetic joy, and upekka, which is equanimity. The practice of these Brahma Vihara is said to consist in the cultivation of compassionate feelings towards all beings. Sympathy towards these in distress who need our help, the ability to rejoice with these who are justly happy, and impartiality towards all. The person who has successfully developed these qualities is said to be the person living happily in the world. Therefore, we as spiritual leaders and practitioners, we all have an ethical obligation to work together to promote, build, and to establish peace, loving kindness, compassion, and harmony in the society. We are so fortunate to be in Australia, where multi-faith and multicultural society exists without any religious, racial, or cultural discrimination. Therefore, I would like to acknowledge the Queensland Government and Multicultural Affairs Queensland for their generous financial support to host this important international peace conference. Lastly, as the president of Buddhist Monastery, I offer my sincere thanks and gratitude for the organizing committee of this event. I do really appreciate their valuable time, commitment, and dedication, and without their hard work and tireless effort, this conference will not be successful. In conclusion, I wish to say a big thank you for all religious and community leaders for their participation and contribution for this conference. Thank you again. Thank you once again. May the blessings of the Noble Triple Gem be with you. May you be well and happy and peaceful. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bhante. And now we are moving on to the third session. Just 15 minutes behind time, I solicit the support of all the upcoming lead speakers to sacrifice 1 minute of their time so that we can reach the target. Because the comparing is to land on time. I take pleasure in inviting the first speaker for the day, Swami Atmeshanand of the Vedanta Center. Put our hands together for Swami Atmeshanand.
Venerable Sangha, respected religious leaders and friends. I would like to begin with a universal prayer which is common to both Hinduism and Buddhism. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah. Sarve santu niramayah. Sarve bhadrani pashyantu. Ma kaschit dukkha bhag bhavet. May all beings be happy. May all beings be free from afflictions and diseases. May none be subject to misery. May we not cause misery to anyone. I am very grateful for being invited today on this thrice blessed day. The birth, the realization, and the parinirvana of the Buddha. I would like to lighten the air a little bit with a small story. There was a swamp wherein there were many frogs. Fran was a good frog and was the best chef in the whole of the swamp. All the toads and frogs in the region enjoyed coming to her restaurant and eating delicious food, a la carte menu cooked by Fran. And naturally, Fran was very proud of her cuisine and served people with love and respect. One day, a very well-built frog called Toady came to the restaurant and he ordered for some food. He looked at the menu and said, well, you have the spicy bug sauce and flies in spicy bug sauce and other things, but what I need is a very fatty burger. So Fran said, sir, this is an a la carte restaurant. Please do not ask for burgers here. That is not served here. And Toby was very upset. He said, no, I have come here with great expectations, hoping that I will get a good burger. And here you are not able to serve it. Anyway, serve whatever you have. So all the food was brought in, and then Toby started eating them, but he got frustrated throughout the food and started abusing Fran, using abusive words towards Fran. Fran got irritated naturally by this. She, who was the master chef, has been now derided here. So she went inside the kitchen, brought a pan, and then whacked on the head of Toby. There was a bit of a scuffle everywhere, and people were all incensed. There was fighting. Fran's supporters and then Toby's supporters, they all joined in the fray. And thus there was a commotion everywhere. Now, in the meantime, Toby took the pan from Fran's hand and was about to knock on the head of Fran. Fran immediately realized that she had erred, she had made a mistake. So she bowed down, bowed out before Toby and said, "Sir, I am very sorry. I shouldn't have done what I have done, but I will cook for you the best burger." So she went inside and cooked the best burger and brought it. And Toby was still huffing and puffing, was not happy at all. So he somehow wanted to get that pan and whack her. As he was about to pan, he saw that there entered a very old person, a very old gentleman. Let us call him Reddit. And the Reddit came through crutches, on crutches, both crutches in his hand, came inside and said, "Toby, stop there. Stop there. Before you whack Fran, I want to break one of your legs." So Toby was immediately, he saw who that was, and his anger slowly receded. And then he now realized that he was quite unfair with Fran. Because what had happened was, when he was a child, he was a rebel in the school. And Reddit was the school teacher. And because of his misbehavior, one day he got into trouble and he was about to be whacked by some of the other frogs. At that moment, Reddit went and saved the situation, but as a result, he was hurt by those unruly frogs, and therefore he had to be lame throughout his life. The meaning of this is that you cannot win over, or you cannot repay hurt by hurting the others. That's where the Buddha's famous teachings come. Akko dena jine kodham asadhum sadhuna jine jine kadariyam danena satchena likavadinam. Akko dena jine, when you are angry, let the other person who is at the receiving end, let him become calm and quiet. Slowly and slowly, the angry person will come to his senses. So if Gandhiji, Mahatma Gandhi very famously said, "An eye for an eye in the world will leave more and more blind people. An eye for an eye or a tooth for a tooth." No, that is not the way. We need to be responsible for what we are. Swami Vivekananda's famous sayings are there. We are responsible for what we are. And whatever we wish ourselves to be, we have the power to make ourselves. If what we are now has been the result of our own past actions, it certainly follows that whatever we wish to be in future can be produced by our present actions. So we have to know how to act. The whole world needs to hear this message of Buddha, of peace. You need to know how to act. You need to perform acts of kindness, of compassion, of friendliness, of brotherhood, instead of the opposite of all of these. If the world needs to be peaceful, if we have to be peaceful, then we need to mend ourselves. My ideal, Sri Ramakrishna, had a wife whose name was Sharada Devi. She was departing the world. And a woman came to her and said, "Mother, what will happen to us when you are gone?" Sharda Devi, whom we call her as Holy Mother, the Holy Mother said to her, because she knew her character, so she said, "My dear, if you want peace of mind, try not to look at the faults of others. Rather, look at your own. Try to make the whole world your own, my child. The whole world is your very own." This is the message that we all need to understand today on this auspicious occasion. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Very respectfully, I solicit your support to land on time as the pilot. We have 10 more speakers to speak within 45 minutes. And we have already contacted 4 Zoom speakers and reduced their time to 3 minutes. We are deviating from the schedule because this venerable monk is available only at this time for another 5 minutes. We now kindly invite Venerable Saranapada Thero from Toronto, Canada, to speak to us via Zoom.
A very good evening to all of you from Toronto, Canada, and we just finished our bi-weekly session with all the venerable monks from North America and Europe, and that's why I was a bit late. But I did not want to disappoint our beloved teacher, Bhante Dhammavasa, who is the chief organizer of today's event. And I promised that I would show up for 10 to 15 minutes because I have another event coming at around 8 o'clock in 10 minutes time. So I'm delighted to participate in this year's World Peace Through Spirituality in Australia. My gratitude to the organizing team and to the Most Venerable Watthegama Dhammavasa, Nayaka Mahathero, for including me in this remarkable celebration. Indeed, your efforts to build world peace through spiritual practices is commendable and really praiseworthy. During this unprecedented and challenging time of global uncertainty, I personally believe all faith leaders have a moral and spiritual obligation to come together to help people of all ages and backgrounds. Let us choose to create faith and hope. If we lose faith and hope, we will fall into fear and despair. This will create a detrimental situation for all in the world. Despite significant challenges, let us choose hope and faith as our building blocks as we create the bridge of kindfulness. This bridge of kindfulness has the capacity to connect all living beings, irrespective of religious, racial, cultural backgrounds. We all have the capacity to choose kindness and mutual respect as a way of relating to one another, and as an expression that we are all suffering during these difficult times. I firmly believe we have the power to bring peace to all through the kindfulness. Tea cannot be served from an empty teapot. In the same way, we cannot bring peace to others from a heart that is empty of peace. To bring peace to others, we must first practice kindfulness to find peace within. His Holiness Dalai Lama once said, if you have kindness in your heart, you will be happy. If you have kindness in your heart, others will be happy. Many thousands of candles can be lit from one single candle. I believe all global citizens can shine brightly with the support, loving kindness, and compassion of one single heart and mind that is overflowing with peace. If we cannot find that candle of peace out there in the world, let us be determined to be a candle of peace for ourselves and others. The first principle of a kindness practice is be mindful to be kind to yourself. And the second is be mindful to be kind to others. By frequently recollecting these two principles, we have the capacity to nurture our innately kind nature. Despite superficial differences, we can become mindful and kind to one another. Therefore, let us choose to be kind. If every citizen of Australia chooses to become kind, mindful and kindful, the entire nation of Australia can be expected to become kind, mindful, and kindful. May all be kind, mindful, and kindful, well, happy, peaceful, and free. So thank you so much for inviting me, and may you be well and happy, and may you have all the success in this life. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Venerable Sarapala Thero, who's addressing us from Toronto. And now I have the great pleasure of requesting Reverend David Barker, representing Queensland Churches.
Good morning. Christian greetings to the Buddhist community on this day of celebration. It is a wonderful thing to be able to take time aside and give thanks for our story, for the narratives and the disciplines that shape our lives. And my particular thanks to Venerable Watagama Dharmawasa Nagayo Thero for the invitation to attend today. I speak really out of the Western tradition of Christianity, and I reflect that particularly since the Reformation and the Age of Enlightenment in Europe in the 16th and 17th centuries of the Common Era, that we have been strongly influenced by rationalism, individualism, and a transactional view of the world. It meant that we got somewhat lost in individual personal achievement, in nationalism, and in an arrogance and exclusivism that meant we lost something of our capacity to fully appreciate our common humanity. And we also lost something of our capacity to wonder and to contemplate the mystery of existence. The so-called Age of Enlightenment in Europe that caught up Western thinking, the birth of what we call modernity, meant that we felt that we had to have an answer for everything, and that there was a rational and empirical answer for everything, and that the scientific method was an unsullied and pure method to establish truth. Tragically, this has led to things like colonialism and the emergence of secular belief systems that wrought so much havoc and warfare on the world in the 20th century. The scientific method, rational philosophies have been wonderful gifts to humanity. Through scientific endeavour, human life and human freedom has flourished. But in repudiating the journey within, in a belief that in loosening what was seen as the shackles of faith, the West has been caught in a swing of a pendulum that has gone too far one way. It failed to acknowledge that deep-seated issues facing humanity lie in every human heart, and that only in identifying both our divinity and our tendency towards selfishness, our capacity to look after our own short-term self-interest above all else, Only in identifying both these things can we find a better world for all. During that time in Europe in the 17th and 18th centuries, the West's definition of freedom changed from being able to transcend that which held us back from being the best we could be, being made in the image of God. It changed the definition of freedom to be to pursue that which we want, to pursue what gave us pleasure. The great tragedy of Christianity, the separating of the Eastern and Western Church, has further intensified the West's disconnection with mystery, with wonder, with contemplation, with the journey within. As we now engage as a multicultural, multi-faith community, with all the challenges that entails, we are also faced with great opportunity. Can we open our hearts to one another? Can we learn from one another? Can we acknowledge our own limited vision? Can we receive one another as children of God? It seems to me that we, people of faith, have much to give our wider world. And perhaps the greatest gifts we will give will be humility and wonder. For the great faiths do seek to place humanity in a healthy place as regards the world, as regards one another, as regards time past and time to come. They do seek to create communities of justice and peace. They also seek to invite us to the journey of reconciliation. Reconciliation within at first, but also reconciliation with our neighbour. Can we love our neighbour as we love ourselves? So my prayer as we take and contemplate on the theme of today is that we will take the journey of appreciating the gift of each other. The truth that both good and evil lie in the human heart. But beyond that also, we will take the journey of wonder, the wonder of creation, the mystery of love, and that we will continue to deepen our sense of awe and wonder as we welcome and receive one another. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now I have the great pleasure of inviting Dr. Arslan Salarti from the Sufi order. Put up.
2565th.
On the law. The other one went to the master and was being tired and filthy and dirty and black. Master, do you know what has happened? He said, what? Everything is going to be finished. Why? This man let a woman sit on the back of his neck and cross the river. What has happened? So many centuries of teaching and getting the people. And is that the result? The master very quietly, with a very smile, says, my friend's noodles spoon. He said, my son, he carried that lady for a few minutes. Each one of us, when we have this in ourselves, we are the Jesus, the Moses, and Nathan, Muhammad. My body is my country, and I'm the king of this country. Let in my country be peace, be friendship, be love. I have a big dictionary. And the word in my dictionary is love, love, and love. What else matter? The word is in agony. Why? Because if one of us is putting something in that, the reaction of my action goes into the universe, and they accumulate, and they make the world happen. Dark and fire. Let us love each other. Let us love let me love myself. When I look into the mirror and say, don't say, what an happy old man is there. Say, why? This type of stuff, let it go out. That is what we need. What we need now, unity. And by letting the priest said here, do we have peace with ourselves, with our neighbor, with the members of our society, with the fellow countrymen? This is what spirituality wants from us. It is very good to have supplications and prayers. More important than that are the deeds. All of them are to teach us to be our lives. No, thank you.
Thank you very much. It was very interesting points to deliberate and discuss if you have the time again. And now I take pleasure of inviting Mr. Ron Mishra from the Brisbane High Court.
Morning, friends and colleagues. Thank you for the invitation to speak here today. The research artist. I'm Ron Mitchell, member of the High Court in Brisbane, and I'll be speaking a bit about the private speaker of world peace through spirituality. By way of introduction, the High Faith Foundation principles include universal peace, the oneness of humanity, and the elimination of all forms of prejudice. Founded by the Hollywood 19th century Persia, or Iran, the High Faith has more than 6 million adherents globally in more than 200 countries and territories around the world. And as some of you may know, the Baha'is in Australia celebrated the centenary of their faith being established here back in 1920, just recently, delayed a little bit by COVID, like a lot of things were. Two powerful words, unity and peace, encapsulate the vision of the High Faith of humanity. World peace is not just the absence of war, but also the spiritual transformation which takes place in the hearts and minds of humanity. For more than a century, the International Enlightenment has urged world leaders to seek consensus and cooperation and to commit to the establishment of a sustainable culture of global peace. The world's great religions share in common many of the same underlying spiritual principles. And of course, peace is the universal aspiration concept embedded in the hearts and minds of people everywhere. In the words of the heart, Son and family by faith, the simple purpose of divine religion is the establishment of peace and unity among mankind. There is but one light of the material sun, one ocean, one rain, one atmosphere. In the spiritual world, there is one divine reality forming the centre and altruistic basis for peace and reconciliation among various and conflicting nations and peoples. Baha'u'llah called for the creation of a system of international governance based on the principle of collective security, which would encompass all the nations of the world and lay the foundations for a lasting and universal peace. In his words, the well-being of mankind, its peace and security are unattainable unless and until its unity is firmly established. So members of the Baha'i community, along with like-minded individuals and groups everywhere, view themselves as global citizens, and we feel a deep sense of responsibility to apply our skills and abilities to serve others from our neighbourhoods through to the international arena. The vision of the Baha'i community is optimistic, I suppose people would say, yet practical, and can be achieved through collaborative efforts at local, national and international levels, through applying principles of unity in diversity, equity, justice, gender equality, moral leadership and freedom of thought. For we, as people of faith in all religions, religion can offer a vision and release the latent spiritual energy in all of us to work together in meeting the challenges and achieving a lasting world peace. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much. And now we have another Zoom presentation coming from Singapore. Venerable Romukwele Nyanasiya Naikatero from Singapore will now address us.
A very good morning and happy Vesak Day. Dear Venerable Sirs, distinguished religious masters, and dear friends. First of all, I would like to take this opportunity to extend my sincere thanks to the organizing committee, especially Venerable Dhammavasa Nayaka Mahathera, for inviting me to participate for this special religious event. Today we are here to discuss about the world peace through spirituality. The leaders of the countries and the religious masters all alone, they have drafted beautiful testimonies to maintain the peace within the communities. All these, while we could see certain kind of peace within the people, but recent years, we can see a lot of demonstration, violence, and wars and discrimination among the human beings. And the world is not really a peaceful place, as we say. A lot of human beings are divided based on race, religion, language, and sometimes we can see because of the economy and the political reasons too. This division has been widening due to the present COVID-19 pandemic. We have to be seriously address this matter. Early drafted constitution have to be changed because of the new nature of the world. Where has already isolated, we are isolated, and the world's order has been changed. Therefore, peacemakers have to focus their attention to change the early constitutions, early drafted constitution too. I want to highlight this special day. In Buddhism, I want to say something which is special. Ever, never change, ever, never try to divide the human beings in whatsoever reason. The Buddha said, the man is his own master. He is responsible for all his action, what he has done. He enjoys the rewards and suffers the retribution of his action himself. Therefore, we have to focus our mind to change entire human mind to make the true peaceful environment in the world. According to the teachings of the Buddha, what we can do, avoid all evil, such as killing, stealing, sexual misbehavior, saying lies, or taking liquor or drugs. What people are like to do it, they like to enjoy with this nowadays. As long as we maintain such a way, I don't think we can peace remain in the world for in the future too. And also ask us to develop the good deeds, develop our thoughts, develop the good deeds, develop the compassion and thought of compassion and love towards each other, and ask us to maintain the purity, our mind, to suppress the greed, hatred, agitation towards each other. This is the only way we can maintain the true peace, happiness within the world. Therefore, all the religious masters and every one of us get together. We have to focus again how to maintain the peace within the communities by implementing such noble teachings of the Buddha and the noble teachings of the other religions too. I am going to conclude my words due to the time limitation. On today, I wish everyone happy Vesak Day, and may the Triple Gem bless you too. Thank you.
ourselves from the dominance of senses of greed, hatred, they are to function together, and no link in the chain is to be lost. If some link is lost, the whole ecological balance would be disturbed. All kinds of beings contribute towards the maintenance of ecological balance. Humanity should develop consciousness of the presence of God and his continuous showering of blessings on the universe. To enjoy his nectar of love, God created people. Only people have the time-space conception. Therefore, only humanity can realize God, conserving the ecological balance, which is the greatest boon bestowed on the universe by God. Humans have to realize the interconnectedness of the living entities and emphasize the idea of moral responsibility to oneself, to one's society, and to the world as whole. Let us unite in our hearts and pray together to induce the divine energy within us to accomplish peace, harmony, and live with dignity and pride, respecting others and their cultures, upbringings, intellects, and beliefs. Just as the spokes of a wheel converge in the center to easily carry out a load, in the same way, people from many faiths ought to converse and remain united in the hope that peace and harmony prevail. Let us induce divinity in our souls and be moved by kind thoughts, which in turn govern all our actions. May peace itself be abundantly peaceful. O God, may we receive such peace through your grace. A prayer for well-being of all. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina, Sarve Santu Niramaya, Sarve Bhadrani Pashiyantu, Ma Kaschit Dukha Bhag Bhavet. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Venerable members of the Mahasangha, all reverend priests from various religious denominations, good morning to you all. It is good day. At first, I like to wish you happy Vesak, and we are celebrating 2565th Vesak anniversary, the Buddha, after the Buddha's passing away. So it is very relevant topic, peace. If we ask from the world, majority may say we need peace. What we need is peace. So peace is the most relevant fact. And unfortunately, we human beings, so-called intelligent beings, are violating peace. And we are consuming billions of lives for our living. And then all the world is being threatened by we human beings. And therefore, we are the responsible. And then, as what Venerable Jnanasiha from Singapore says, What is this corona pandemic? Corona pandemic is nothing, but it is the repercussion. Every action is having its own reaction. This is the karmic theory. Now, coronavirus pandemic is the reaction. Actually, it is the punishment what we are having from the nature. Then as soon as possible, we find out the way. We must find out the way. Therefore, according to the Buddha's teaching, we must establish peace, and it should be begun within myself. Attanamaya patamang patirupe nimese. I must be peaceful before I give the peace to the others. How I establish peace within myself? That is very simple. As what the Buddha said, 5 universal laws. We must follow the 5 universal laws. Those universal laws, we know very well, Panchasila. Panchasila is universal law, that there is no religious brand. It is universal law. And then first, the respect all the other lives. I live and let live. And then this is the first and foremost law. And we must give life to the others. Again, with this understanding, I have to do my duty. Again, as the Buddha's advice. Panatipata pativirato hoti anyancha samadapeti. Once I understand the reality, while I am practicing, let the others also know and guide them, give them guidelines, advise them, make the others also peaceful. This is why we are having such discussions. This is why it is important. Therefore, I take this opportunity to say thanks to Venerable Dhammavasa and organizers. Thank you very much. May there be peace prevail all over the world. Sukhi hotu.
That was Venerable Omalpe Sobhita Naikatira from Sri Lanka. And now we listen to the one and only female voice in this conference. I have great pleasure in inviting Gail Parajas, Chairperson, Queensland Faith Communities Council. Very special person. Once again, put our hands together.
Hi, everyone, and shalom. Thank you to the Sri Lankan Buddhist monastery community and to all the venerables for the opportunity to speak today, as millions of Buddhists celebrate the sacred Vesak day, or the day of the full moon. It's so appropriate that your conference theme of world peace through spirituality was chosen, as it's widely acknowledged that the Buddha's teachings centered on quiet reflection, joy, and peace. My name is Gail Paratz, and I'm chair of the Interfaith Committee on the Queensland Jewish Board of Deputies, which gives me the opportunity to speak when invited on themes from a Jewish perspective. But I'm also heavily involved with the Queensland Faith Communities Council, so I meet many people from a rather large diversity of faith groups. And I have to confess to you that I'm also Sri Lankan. My parents, my grandparents, my great-grandparents, everybody. And came to this beautiful country of Australia as a very small child. I thoroughly enjoy my roles of interfaith, for I believe that the more we learn about each other, the more we have the capacity to break down ignorance and fear of the other, and truly learn to see each other as brothers and sisters. Those who know me know how deeply I respect the late Rabbi Jonathan Sachs of blessed memory, who was lost to us in a physical sense last November. I turn to his writings and books all the time when I need guidance, and a clearer understanding of concepts of my own faith. His scholarship, intellect, respect, and love of all people permeates everything he wrote, and I will be paraphrasing his words from many of his Covenant and Conversation lectures on the dignity of difference, faith in the future, and from optimism to hope. So he says that spirituality is not the same as religion, though the two are related. In essence, spirituality is what happens when we open ourselves to something greater than ourselves. Some find it in the beauty of art or music or nature. Others find it in prayer or performing a mitzvah or good deed or learning a sacred text. Spirituality is what the Torah tells us in Deuteronomy 8, verse 3, that man does not live by bread alone, but by everything that comes from the mouth of God. We are not just physical beings with biological drives. We have hopes and dreams and fears and loves. We strive for connection. We search for meaning. We experience transcendence. We are spiritual beings. We are not just random mutations of genes blindly replicating themselves into the future, nor are we merely profit maximizers or pleasure seekers. We seek meaning in our lives. Jewish spirituality speaks of human purpose and meaning in this world. Spiritually, our reason for being is not to get to heaven, but to bring heaven down to earth. Everything has a divine purpose. Nothing is here just because it is here. The concept of harmony and peaceful and respectful coexistence is central to the Jewish understanding of family and community. In Jewish scripture, harmony and peace is more than passive coexistence. The pursuit of peace is an active goal each person must undertake to care for one another, respect one another, and through living together harmoniously to bring the presence and love of God into every home and public place. The Hebrew term shalom bayit, literally meaning peace of the home or marital peace, is the Jewish concept of peaceful relationships within the family unit, which then permeates to the wider family and the community like ever-extending ripples in a pond. Understanding this concept resonates in the wider world where respect is vital for peaceful coexistence in the world. So therefore, peace in the home is where world peace begins. Rabbi Sachs wrote in Radical Then, Radical Now, peace in the Judaic sense will not come when all nations are conquered, as in tribalism, but when, under God's canopy, different nations and faiths make space for one another. In The Dignity of Difference, Rabbi Sachs says, we will make peace only when we learn that God loves difference, and so, at last, must we. God has created many cultures, civilizations and faiths, but only one world in which to live together. And it is getting smaller all the time. As Jews, we have the precedent of the great lives of those who came before us, whose stories recorded in our sacred texts still speak to us, showing how ordinary people can be raised to extraordinary heights when they open their minds and moods to the one who is beyond us, yet within us. Rabbi Sachs writes, the single greatest mistake, and it's been made many times in history, is to believe that peace is a zero-sum game. If I win, you lose. If I suffer, you gain. It isn't so. The truth is opposite. From violence, both sides suffer. From peace, both sides gain. That is why no one does a service to peace by demonising one side and making heroes of the other. Peace is a duet scored for two voices, and someone who thinks that one voice can win by drowning out the other just hasn't understood what a duet is. And finally, Rabbi Sachs writes, we will need spiritual strength even more than military, economic or technological strength in the years ahead. For it is spirituality that teaches us that life is sacred, that there is more to happiness than the pursuit of wealth, power, success or fame, and that though life is short, we can, at blessed moments, experience the transformative power of joy, giving us a sense of eternity in the midst of time. The divine presence is always there. It's the music beneath the noise, the calm beneath the clamour, the voice of God within the human soul. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we have 3 more speakers, and we try to land somewhere around the time that we have. And I have great pleasure in inviting Venerable Panyanasiri Thera from Gold Coast Buddhist Center.
Venerable members of the Sangha, dear spiritual brothers and sisters, and dear friends, you have organized this conference in conjunction with Vesak celebrations this year. I understand that we are running out of time. Therefore, I try my best to make my speech as short as I can. Sri Lanka Rame Temple, under the spiritual guidance of Venerable Wattegama Dhammavasanayaka Thero, has organized a number of religious and cultural activities to celebrate this year's Vesak, and this conference is only one of them. The theme of this conference, World Peace Through Spirituality, is a very timely and a very significant theme. We had the opportunity to listen to speeches from different cultural and religious backgrounds and teachings. When I was listening to those speeches, it is clear that all our scriptures talk about peace. But the problem is, in every religion, we talk about peace. The question is how much peace we have achieved. Having meetings and having conferences like this is not enough. I think we need to work hard to achieve peace. I remember once Mahatma Gandhi said, ounce of practice is better than tons of theories. If every religion did their part, I don't think that the world would have had this much troubles. Therefore, while organizing this kind of activities as spiritual organizations, we need to try our best to educate our communities on how to live a peaceful life. From Buddhist point of view, war begins in the human mind. If so, peace also must come from human mind. Every individual can contribute to establish world peace. We need to start it from individual level. For example, if you are not peaceful, you cannot help others to be peaceful. One of the previous speakers said, peace needs to start from home. It is very true. Actually, peace needs to start from home and also from the minds of the people who are living in homes. So the Buddha said, mind is the forerunner. Every violence, every war, firstly begins in the human mind. Therefore, we need, as religious and cultural organizations, we need to try to educate our people first how to be a peaceful person first, and then as a family, and then as a region, country, ultimately as a world community. Without making individuals peaceful, we cannot make the world a peaceful place. In making the world a peaceful place, all of us, not only organizations, every individual has a moral responsibility. Organizations also have a great responsibility. Sri Lanka Rame Temple, together with others, have organized this conference to promote world peace and also to achieve that goal. And we really appreciate your generosity and your dedication. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bante. And now we are having a slight change where we want to end this seminar with a physical presence of the speaker. So therefore, we are going to introduce Venerable Yatinura Sanchita Thero from Michigan via Zoom, and then follow it up with the speaker from the audience. We now listen to Venerable Yatinura Sanchita Thero.
Very good morning and happy and peaceful Vesak Day to all of you, to especially my great teacher, the Most Venerable Watthigama Dhammawasa Nayaka Thera, and all the venerable monks and nuns and the distinguished guests today. It's my great pleasure to join this meaningful and timely conference celebrating the Vesak. As we celebrate the Vesak, the celebration of Lord Buddha's birth, great enlightenment, and passing away. This is a very special time for us to get closer to the Buddha and his great teachings by practicing the Dhamma, by living according to it. The Buddhahood, or in the Enlightenment, is the highest evolution of consciousness, and there is nothing beyond that. Unlike the biological evolution, this spiritual awakening exactly requires the direct and conscious effort to evolve. The Buddha attained the enlightenment by consciously transforming his mind, to a higher level through the cultivation of all good. We call them the 10 perfections. The Buddha in his great teachings explains that the real peace in the world begins in our hearts and minds, as Bhante mentioned previously. Therefore, first he became the change he wanted to see in others through self-awakening. Today, the entire world has come to a point where we all need to support each other with peaceful minds and kind attitudes to survive this ongoing painful experience. This reminds us the Buddha's powerful statement of protecting oneself, one protects others, and protecting others, one protects oneself. To be simple, you do not have to do much to make the world peaceful, but just by being peaceful within oneself, you can make the person sitting next to you peaceful, happy, and feel safe. So it is our duty, out of love and compassion to oneself and others, to consciously evolve ourselves up to spiritually higher levels by cultivating the love, compassion, non-violence, respecting others, helping and caring for each other. So let us cultivate the peaceful teachings of the Lord Buddha to live a peaceful and a successful life, and to support each other to achieve the same, and to make this planet a better and a safer place for all sentient beings, while protecting the Mother Nature in every possible way. Thank you very much, and a happy Vesak to all of you.
Thank you very much, Venerable. And this invitation is to Venerable Keshi Tultrimpero, or President at Shengri Institute.
So good morning, everyone. Geshe started off with making a kata offering, offering of a traditional scarf, showing our deep appreciation and also highest intention. And thank you very much for inviting all of us here.
Good morning, everyone. Tamkila tuji chimudem tembokatinchi tan jigden de la penita lo nitong tuya samasung dru kabdelaya an charan sogi an khodik de nanchi ni an delicate awatelaya intaban tuji chis shoes.
So Geshe started off, first of all, with showing his respect to the Buddha Shakyamuni, who has destroyed all the net of misconceptions and, motivated by great compassion, taught others how to do it as well. So first of all, thank you very much for inviting us here, also for putting together this wonderful event, particularly since this is marking the birth of the Buddha, who we regard as our spiritual teacher, the one that had skillful means and also motivated by great compassion. So thank you very much.
Ani chidangan zambali di nalolaya an democratic jinjugi soma an zamli khasalaya yoris inaya ani democratic jing tusi sonzi chingendi ani Sri Lanka chanzo takshuchik ngarangun tunguye telaya same thing ni ani tuji shundu chongsons.
And Geshe-la also wanted to express his appreciation to the Sri Lankan people and to the Sri Lankan tradition. So we have Buddhist followers, Buddhist practitioners all over the world, coming from different traditions, different ethnicities and so forth. It seems that the way that the birth of the Buddha is celebrated in the Sri Lankan culture is very much alive and strong, and Geshe-la wanted to express his appreciation.
And Tirindelaya, Nanzo Gendembari, and Chulukagi, Kemari, and Chans Samolaya, and Sayangi, some Dishwa Dashi, and Tanganzu Delia, Democratic Tuzi Delia, so and Sangivari, and Chikotambari, and Gombanyang and Debigi, Tuzi Sumzum Jilaya, Nanzung Tindis, Tindis, Chanzo Pebatelia, one Tanigi, and in some years.
So in the presence of all the venerable that have gathered here, Geshe-la also wanted to just speak about the birth of the Buddha from the point of view of the tradition that it comes from. So in the Tibetan tradition, not only we regard this day as the day that the Buddha was born, but this is also the day in which the Buddha attained the state of enlightenment, and also the day that he passed into parinibbana.
And this is that when I Suzu Rojin by now, and Savi Kesadi, and it's Purgan Trouble on Matindijili, Kenny, and Chinjung Penalota, Chosum Chushini, and Sanji with Tembalaya Shuchini, and the Tanda Pardata, Loshichu, Samasum, and Dindijro is Tirilaya, one of them Democratic Chingi, and the Sonjabi, Chuzul Delaya, Shini Tebatovasi, Lamatuna Yanaya, Janchini, and the Kungi Sombi, and it's Sanjum Digi Sonre, and Di Jinjugi, and the Jagar Kebatsu, Sonshabigi, and Denju Tidi, Suzuki, Natola, Simgoya Sim, and the Gaging Zani, Petru Shugoya Shu, and Denipiki Churdos and the Piki Drolling Chechini, Kanji Lo Nushilajilaya, and the Lovnir Chini, and Tandagishi Minji, and the top Deva, the Chaguyers.
So Geshe-la came from the Tibetan tradition, being born in Tibet, into a family of nomads. He became a monk when he was 13 or 14 years old, and he has been a monk for over 40 years, having spent more than 20 years in his monastery, committing text to memory, studying different classes, going to debate classes, discussions, and so forth. And at the completion of his studies, he got the Geshe degree, which is equivalent to a PhD in Buddhist philosophy.
These are Anji Tangan Zambalin de Nanolia, Nansamalu, Sanjum de Sonyore, Chik Mitsa Mayan, Dori Tugi, Devan Devadan, Dungan Mundeva, Chiguri Badi, Nanzun Tonchus Yovanza, that Deva Divi Tap Chigoguri, Dungan Sevi Tapdi, Rangan Zambalin de Nanolia, the Gongichendi, and Dichagores. These are Tindigi Tap the Nivalaya, one time Sanjum de Sonsevi, Lavja Didia, Piggy, Jamba Chini. Neva Chona and the top the Ragiabata, Tenter Machivaina, and then Zambalin the Namalaya, Yoda Gumadovi, Deji Drivia tap the Dungase Tabjik, Ragimabadi, Pesci Sivichagores.
Buddha's teachings are based on, first of all, the recognition that all of us, all living beings, so not only human beings, but all living beings in general, operate on the basic wish to be happy, to be well, to be protected, and wanting to avoid suffering and pain. So then in order to accomplish that, we need to engage in the methods, the techniques for accomplishing our happiness and well-being. And so long as we do not become informed and knowledgeable of how to develop our own happiness and well-being, we'll still continue to experience problems and sufferings as we see around now, around the world at the present.
Terindele di Tomatambo Inza, and Karanzugi, and a Gombari, Kuyuri, Tuzutola, Hajang Piggy, and a Chagen Zombo or Dindiji, Redashas, Tinza, Chagen Zombo Didi, Piggy Chagen Shani, Maumbalaya, one Tanigi Sanji Chure, and the Sanji Jinjugi, Nananda Zubi, and Bikamala Shila Sobi, Kibi Big, and the Shagin Timamiba Yoba Telea, Chikterson Lovni Yabuji Chetubana, and Nanzugi. Sanin David Lomba Dela and Anzu Pendochi Turilla, and it's Lomba Shandaji, Kanjin Zambalilla, and the Pendochi to Yanzoli, Nibaj to Tingi Revains.
It seems that this environment that the monasteries is such a beautiful and prosperous environment. Is hoping that you'd be able to draw upon the Buddhist teachings, to study the Buddhist teachings, to study the teachings of the Indian masters coming from different traditions such as Vrikamalashila, so that we'd be able to develop the knowledge of the techniques to develop mental happiness and well-being.
And so we can zerum tamadeleya manzu theoretic tuzu de teride tuzu zodu werden ina can chik tuni tuleya pigi chik chulu samasun zom ani nganzu chik tadruji ani chu tone na ani chu tone nganzu chik karso ta chik zambling mamalaya ani chende country chik drup tu de sel sobi tindi chik dwelling khoti chik nang tu ba na kyanzu la chagen saman dos deza chik soso dawe na gaishin trojing ne khaddu yong go chona ya yongya gin debat lessons.
So then, one of the ways to share our experiences in terms of developing the methods for happiness and well-being is to have such discussion. So we have a Q&A or discussion session after the completion of this session. And since our time is short, Geshe will probably finish with that. But it's an opportunity to do that, to share our views and experiences, not only perspective of the Buddhist tradition, but also from the perspective of different forms of spirituality. So this is a good venue for doing that. It is a good outlet for doing that. And Geshe is hoping to be able to participate in such activities in the future.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And now we are coming to the fourth session of the conference. Actually, we should be finishing the entire session by now, as per the schedule. But it doesn't matter. We are near that. We are trying to work out a formula where we will carry the last section of it also. Before that, I would like to invite all the special invitees today and the speakers, including all the clergy, theras, and all the others, to come online here. So we have one question and answer from the panel and a group photograph of everyone with Venerable Dhammavansa Thero. So we all come up here in front. In the question and answer session, I am going to just have one question only. I think Dr. Adhikari, please come and help us to arrange the people around. Please come. This is the time to photograph all the clergy. Please get in. Yeah. Come, Professor. You're the tallest. I think you could be next to Roy. Yeah. With all the deliberations for this, morning session, I think one factor was very clear to everyone, and I would like to summarize this way. For instance, animals in the jungle are free and easy in the jungle. Fish are easy and comfortable in the water. Birds are free and easy in the but we have the knowledge of, we have gained a lot of knowledge on various things and explore the world. But we have lost the most important thing, the peace of mind. But all other beings enjoy their life in full. So they have the wisdom and we have the knowledge. What is your opinion about this? May I start with you with the answer?
I think we haven't lost. Wisdom is something you gain individually. Nobody else can give us the wisdom. So it depends on the individual whether you can improve your wisdom. So even though we think animals outside are having wisdom, wisdom is something that we have to reach, develop, and according to how you see things in real life, about letting go of greed, hatred, and delusion.
Thank you very much. I am selecting random from the speakers. See, as a senior person.
Thank you. We have ego. If we try to eliminate your ego, life will be easier.
Yeah, I think we are somewhere now because no lion in the jungle wants to be a better lion. They had no ego of becoming the best in the jungle. Elephants keep on living. Fish keep on swimming. What have you got to say about this?
Thank you. The problem today I see is while we sit at the table, the best way of looking at it is we all sit at one table and eat our food. The moment we start questioning others, what they are eating, creates the problem.
Come to Bante last. I will start from this corner. What have you got?
The difference between the animals and the humans is in that while we make mistakes, we also have the knowledge to mend our mistakes. The animals are driven by their instincts, whereas we humans are driven by our knowledge. So we do make mistakes, but we have the power within ourselves to mend ourselves and to become a Christ or a Buddha or a Moses or a Jesus.
And I'm going to ask a different question from you. What do you think of the outcome of the conference today?
Thanks for putting me on the spot. I had prepared about animals. Well, I think the conference has been very well organised, and perhaps if the time had allowed us to have more give and take with the audience that had been sitting there so patiently, that could have been an improvement. But obviously time is very hard to manage in a conference. But I think your preparation and your inspiration for this is excellent.
I think the architect of this seminar, the conference, and who built this temple from nothing to all this within the last 2 decades, I think you'll be proud to speak a few words about the outcome and how it is coming to an end.
Okay, I think today is a so beautiful day and very wonderful day because differences are so beautiful. You can see the flower bouquet, different flowers together, so beautiful. Like that, today, we all of are human beings, different cultures, different believers, and different races. But today, with the birthday festival, we are together, one roof, one family, one world. We are one human being. This is the great thing. Differences are okay. It's beautiful for the world, but we don't forget we are human beings. The Buddha mentioned all of our relatives, our parents, our brothers, sisters, and all relatives. So very important thing is the human qualities and values. Always we want to be live with peace. Today is a very beautiful day. I am very thanks and gratitude all of you. You are joined with our great conference.
Thank you very much, Bante. I have to request you to be standing just for 1 minute. And I have the great pleasure of inviting Mr. Ajit Vikramratna here to make the word of thanks.
Hi, greetings. It was indeed a highly successful conference. It was on a great theme, and it is my honor and privilege to deliver the vote of thanks on behalf of Sri Lanka Buddhist Monastery. Our guest of honor on this occasion, Mrs. Anton Swan, OAM, and Associate Professor J. Veeravardhana. We thank you very much for being with us and gracing the occasion. This conference received the support of the Queensland government under its CMQ program. Our appreciation for that. We also thank the Queensland Premier for her special greetings issued for this occasion. Venerable Ajahn Brahmavanso Nayaka Thero provided a great message to us today. Amongst so many other things, he elaborated as to how we should inspire ourselves during these difficult times. Thank you very much, Venerable Sir, for your valued contribution to the seminar. We express our sincere thanks to the 8 religious dignitaries for giving an excellent coverage on the theme. Thank you very much for your valuable thoughts and messages that were conveyed very clearly and strongly. And we had 4 distinguished speakers who spoke to us via Zoom from different parts of the globe. They spoke with passion and conveyed thought-provoking messages. We sincerely thank them for sharing their valuable time despite tight schedules. Today, we have in this audience a highly distinguished gathering of religious leaders and dignitaries in Queensland from several religions and faiths. We thank all of you with respect for your participation, which we value so much. A big thank you, Dr. Nimal Sadar, our Master of Ceremonies, and Mr. Peter Abedera and Dr. Sankar Vasatilaka for your tireless and dedicated efforts that gave us a magazine which you have today of a great value. Organizing a conference of this nature is no easy task. This was the brainchild of Venerable Vattegama Dhammavasa Nayaka Thero, the chief incumbent of this temple and the chief Sanghanayaka of Australia. Venerable Sir, thank you very much for guiding us all along this journey. It was truly a team effort with voluntary contributions coming from numerous friends of friends in Dhamma, I think it's not fair to cite a few names. And I thank each and every one in this temple family team who contributed in numerous ways by providing a variety of services, making this a great success story. Today is a working day, yet all of you took that extra effort to participate in this conference. Thank you very much for all of you for choosing to be with us today. Let us get together and support the call for universal peace. Thank you.
I'm very sorry that I kept you standing. You want to have a photograph?
Yeah, go ahead.
One last sentence. The deliberations of this seminar helped us to know ourselves and our fellow members of the society a bit better. Let us deepen this understanding so that we will live in a society that is brightened up with the power of understanding and metta, the friendship with no expectations. May all of us be well and happy. That is our Vesak prayer. And with the permission of the Nayaka Thero, Vattegama Dhammavansather, Nayakahimi, I declare the conference closed.